CNBC is out this morning with its annual list of NHL valuations. The average NHL team now worth $2.2 billion. That's a 15% jump from last year. Now taking the top spot on this year's list, the Toronto Maple Leafs, valued at $4.3 billion. That's followed by the New York Rangers, Montreal Canadiens, Los Angeles Kings, and Edmonton Oilers. Joining us right now is the man behind the list, the numbers, our own Michael Ozanian, senior sports reporter. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
How has this moved, if we were to look at it over the last year, 2, even 10 years?
Well, it's gone up a lot in the NHL, principally because the national TV deals have gone up a lot, Andrew. So the new Canadian deal, which takes effect next year, is going to be more than twice the current deal for Canadian national media rights. And the people I'm talking to saying the next U.S. deal, which averages $630 million a year, runs for 2 more years, that deal could also double. And I think one of the biggest things besides television, Andrew, is the fact that gate, which is the core, ticket money, has gone up 20% in the NHL on average in just the past 2 years. So the fan base is really engaged.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you about the fan base, and the fan base in the U.S. Obviously, I mean, hockey has been a Canadian sport, a Canadian love, a pastime. Do you think that there's a team in the U.S. that will surpass a Canadian team in terms of valuation?
Possibly could be the New York Rangers at some point, but one of the headwinds that all U.S. teams are facing that the Canadian teams are not is with local TV rights. So you mentioned, you know, U.S. teams in big markets, for example. The Rangers are taking an 18% haircut to their local TV rights on MSG Network. On contrast, the Canadian teams are getting big increases. The Montreal Canadiens just signed a new deal where they're going to get about $70 million a year in the NHL, which is tops in the league. The Edmonton Oilers, which actually leapfrogged the Bruins on our list this year, they've got a new deal that's going to pay them about $50 million a year. So the Canadian teams, their local TV rights are going up, where in the U.S., they're stagnant or going down. So it's going to be very tough in the face of that economic headwind from local TV for U.S. teams to surpass the Maple Leafs.
Mike, when you think about where this all goes, if you were to compare hockey right now to another league, they are, I would imagine, right behind. You'd have football, obviously, first, then I would assume basketball, then Major League Baseball, then hockey, or is hockey gonna come up on baseball soon?
Oh, I think if you price it in terms of multiples of revenue, hockey is actually passing baseball right now, Andrew. So hockey teams right now on average are 9 times revenue, enterprise value to revenue. Baseball teams have been going for 5 to 6 times revenue recently. Now, granted, the baseball teams that have sold recently, the Orioles and Tampa Bay, they haven't been big market teams. But you have 2 very different dynamics right now in those 2 sports. Hockey, you have a new collective bargaining agreement. Player costs are locked into 50% of hockey-related revenue. There is no salary cap in baseball. So there's a lot more risk on the cost side in baseball. And that's the biggest reason why you have the discrepancy in the revenue multiples that those teams are selling for in those 2 different leagues.
Ever face an issue like that where labor costs could ratchet up? I mean, I think back to the lockouts that they've had with the...
You know what? Commissioner Gary Bettman took tremendous amount of criticism for the lockouts he put to get the hard cap, but it's paid off. When you have cost certainty, right, your 2 biggest costs are your players and your arena. So if you can lock those 2 in with a lease with the arena, or you own the arena, and you can lock in your player costs, you know, like the average EBITDA margin in the NHL is 22%. It's right there with the NBA, maybe higher than the NBA now. It's much higher than baseball. So for hockey, although the revenues aren't anywhere near as high as they are, let's say, in the NBA, that cost certainty, I think, is going to encourage investors. And I think we're going to see over the next few months some LP stakes in hockey teams. I think we've seen investors focus on the NFL when they allowed private equity over the past year. But I think you're going to see stakes in NHL teams. And we know it's going to be very interesting. Rogers has a call option on the piece of the Maple Leafs that it doesn't own. It's going to exercise that probably by the summer of 2026. And I think that's going to be a very interesting signal on where these valuations are going.